Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Newport News City Planning Commission meeting for January 17th, 2024 to order. My name is Lynn Spratley. I am acting as the acting chair of the Planning Commission today because the former chair's term expired at the end of last year. And momentarily, the commission will be electing a new chair, but until that time, we'll move on with the agenda. First, we will have our Planning Commission creed and approval of the agenda by Commissioner Taylor. Oh, I have a copy of the creed. Excuse me.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And Happy New Year. Planning Commission Creed. The Newport News Planning Commission is mandated by state law, and its members are appointed by City Council. Section 15.2, Tag 2210 of the Code of Virginia states in part that every locality shall create a planning commission in order to promote the orderly development of the localities and its environment. The statutory purpose is to improve the public health, safety, convenience, and welfare of the citizens, and to plan the future development in the communities. In serving the statutory purpose, the Commission invites the comments at the public hearing of its interested citizens on the matters before it, and welcomes your presence. Madam Acting Chairman, I move that we adopt the agenda before us.
I second it.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about the agenda? If so, please, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda has been adopted as presented. We'll now have our invocation from Commissioner Bowditch.
Lord, thank you for bringing us together on this wonderful day in January for our first Planning Commission meeting in 2024. Thank you for those that are staff members before us that have supported projects coming forth, and thank you for those that sit to my right and to my left, deemed with the decision-making to determine what is the best for our community and for our city and for our citizens. Lord, also thank you those that come before us and have put time, money, and planning into projects that they deem fit for the city of Newport News. We ask your guidance, your trust, and your direction. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We'll now have our Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Shook.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now is the important time on the agenda where the Commission will elect officers, and we'll start with the office of Chairman for the Planning Commission. I'll open the floor for nominations. Are there any nominations for Chair?
I nominate Michael Taylor. Second.
He's accepted, and you have seconded. Are there any other nominations? Okay, I will close the floor for nominations. Can we have a vote on, call the roll, please, for the nomination?
Commissioner Michaud,
Aye.
Commissioner Diaz,
4.
Commissioner Shook,
4.
Commissioner Williams,
4.
Commissioner Taylor,
4.
Commissioner Bowditch,
4.
Commissioner Stachel,
4.
Commissioner Grabowski.
4.
Motion unanimous, 8-0.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to Commissioner Taylor. I will give up this chair to you.
Happy New Year. Let's say it until I can't say it.
Change your.
Wow.
There you go.
I'm so surprised. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I'd like to now proceed into our next. Do we continue with elections?
Vice Chair.
Yes. So I'll just warm the seat up for our next person. So I'll open the floor for nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Phil Shook for vice chair.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Phil, you have a problem?
I can handle it.
Okay.
I
Do you
accept.
accept, Philip? Phil?
I accept.
All right, it's been moved and properly second, and Phil has accepted the nomination. I now ask to call the roll.
Is there any other nominations?
I'm sorry, is there any other nominations? Okay, we're closed.
Commissioner Micho,
4.
Commissioner Dias,
4.
Commissioner Shook,
4.
Commissioner Williams,
4.
Chairman Taylor,
4.
Commissioner Bowditch,
4.
Commissioner Stachel,
4.
Commissioner Grabowski.
4.
Motion unanimous, 8-0.
Can I just make one comment just for, we put in our bylaws that the chair will be called chairperson rather than male or female.
All right.
Well, my vice chair, would he please take the position? And congratulations. Phil.
Take your water.
Just a couple of seats shifting today.
Yeah, let me grab some stuff there. Good.
Are we all shifting?
You good? Thank you. Good. Thank you all for indulging us while we took care of those matters before us. We'll now proceed with the minutes, with the agenda. We all received the minutes electronically. Do we have any changes or corrections? Any? Hearing none. Let me apologize. We have 2 minutes for the November and the November 15th meeting. So do we have any corrections to either of those? Any changes to either of those? Again, hearing none. The floor is open for a motion in reference to the minutes.
I think we just accept them into the record if there's been no correction.
Yeah, there's no question. We just accept the minutes.
Okay, we accept the minutes as read and presented into the record. Please bear with me and us as we go through this transition. Next on the agenda, we have public hearings, and we have a conditional use permit. It will be conditional use permits 2023 tag 001, BD Ash Incorporated and Red Mill LLC, and it's going to be presented by Saul.
Excuse me, Commissioner Taylor,
Yes,
Chairman
ma'am.
Taylor. At this point, I just need to make the commission aware of something that our office has been asked to look into. Basically, one of the presenters in this case for the applicant, we're looking into whether or not they may or may not, we don't know as of this time, have a conflict of interest in terms of this case. And so we haven't made a final determination on that yet, and we wanted you to be aware of that. I know that presenter himself will have, Mr. Tanner will have something to say as well about that, and I welcome that. But we wanted you to be aware that we're still looking into the possibility of that since it was brought to our attention. I will say that a few weeks ago, the matter was, well, perhaps even a month ago, but at that time, I think we were uncertain, and the issue was put to the side. And so just recently it was brought up again to us, actually yesterday, and we haven't been able to do the full research on it. And certainly I'm happy to have Mr. Tanner speak more on that. And so the position of our office is, if you would like an opinion from us, as to whether an assistant of the applicant has a conflict with presenting this case, then we wouldn't be able to give that today. And therefore, if you wanted our opinion, the matter would need to be deferred.
Well, two things. Yes, I would want your opinion from your office. And two, I'll yield for your comments.
Probably piggybacking on what you're saying, is the conflict of interest such that an opinion really does need to be articulated before we even hear the presentation?
Well, that we don't know. Just because we haven't looked fully into the legal issues, we don't have an answer at this point to the question. And so it's always better if a legal question is asked to get the appropriate answer before moving forward. That's always the position of our office.
I think, and that's the position the chair would like to take also, is to get clarifications, because we don't want to go down, if we can avoid a rabbit hole.
So, Mr. Chairperson. Go ahead. Mr. Chairperson, I'll make a recommendation then that we table this conditional use permit until we get the legal opinion about the conflict of interest that may be involved.
And I would say, I apologize to interrupt, I do know Mr. Tanner wanted to say something to the commission in respect to his client and on that issue of the deferral. So I don't know if you wish to hear from him or not.
Well, I have a motion on the floor to table.
But before
It's not-
before you finalize the motion, we do have citizens who are here, at least one, who's here to speak, and I think because this was duly advertised for today, that we need to take that into consideration also.
Chairman.
The chair hasn't got warm yet, but thank you. Yes, go, Mr. Bowditch.
So, I think it's a value to hear from Mr. Tanner, but the person that's of conflict may or may not need to even speak today. So, I don't know if it's detrimental to the project or detrimental to the closing or detrimental to the process of the deal to postpone it. It kills the deal if we postpone it. So, would you?
As a point of order, we do have a motion on the floor,
Correct.
so there
That-
shouldn't be any discussion unless.
That is where I was going to go with my next statement
Yeah.
too, because I have to do something with the motion that's on the floor.
Yeah.
So with the motion being made, it has yet to be second. Is there a second? Or do you want to restate your motion, sir, so we can make sure we remember?
Do you want the
Well, I want to,
lawyer to speak first before we place that motion in? And as well as the resident?
But if we table it, we don't hear the residents.
Yeah, we don't
Correct.
hear the resident or the.
okay. Again, let's do this. Let's throttle back. We've got our concerns, both legal and from the commission. And since we have both yourself and residents here, let's listen to what you have to say. Make no motion. We'll table it and hold off until we carry forward on your motion. So the floor is now Saul's.
There's been a motion made. Yeah.
Unless he retracts his motion.
I'll retract my motion.
Yeah, it wasn't seconded, so it would die.
Okay. What did I just do?
You just put
Okay. So, good afternoon. Happy New Year. We have application CU 2023-0011 for a conditional use permit to allow the conversion of the shopping center into a mini storage warehouse, single entrance interior storage. The property owner is BD Ash Incorporated, and the applicant is Rice Mill LLC. The property is located at 200 Arthur Way within the Victory Crossing Shopping Center and contains 7.41 acres. North, we have the Hampton Inn, 2nd Street Restaurant and retail shops on property zone C1 Retail Commercial, and Kiln Creek Shoreline condominiums across Victory Boulevard on property zone R5 Low Density multiple family dwelling. East, we have a Hallmark store on property zone C1 retail commercial. South, we have the Hilton Garden Inn on property zone C1 retail commercial. And finally, west, we have Kiln Creek Lake 12 and I-64 ramp on property zone C1 retail commercial. The One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan land use map identifies community commercial uses for this parcel. The plan also identifies the parcel as part of a community activity center that is part of Kiln Creek. Activity centers not only provide opportunities for socializing, but also attract new businesses that will create employment opportunities. The proposed use is not compatible with the overall goals of a designated activity center, as it will create a dead activity zone with limited employment opportunities. The property has been zoned C1 retail commercial since the citywide comprehensive rezoning became effective on August 1st, 1997. This property is part of the corporate center portion of the Villages of Kiln Creek planned residential community. On November 22nd, 2022, City Council approved conditional use permit CU 2022-0009 for the operation of an amusement establishment for a portion of the building on the site. This permit is still valid. A conditional use permit is required to operate a mini storage warehouse, single entrance interior storage in the C1 retail commercial zoning district. The area and dimensional regulations for the C1 retail commercial district has a maximum floor area of 75% of the total lot area, including the proposed mezzanine addition. The square footage will roughly be 43% of the total lot area, so that part is met. The zoning ordinance requires 3 parking spaces for every 1,000 square feet of office space, plus 1 parking space per employee. Based on the proposed operation, 7 parking spaces are required. In contrast, the property provides a total of 320 parking spaces. The Department of Development has objected to the proposed use, stating that in their view, many by right uses allowed under current zoning, such as retail and business, personal services, would come closer to achieving highest and best use potential rather than the proposed mini storage facility, specifically with respect to job creation and tax base maximization. In their opinion, the property would be better served with other uses that are community-centered, educational, and entertainment in character, and would allow for greater job creation and positive community development. Other city departments had no objections to the request. Corporate Center 15 subdivision, of which the Victory Crossing Center is a part, was developed in 1995 as part of the Villages of Kiln Creek planned residential community. The center was anchored by a 56,000 square foot farm fresh grocery store. The store closed in 2017 and has remained vacant since. Portions of the remaining 385 square feet of retail space are also vacant. The applicant is proposing to utilize the entire shopping center and add a 38,000 square foot mezzanine as a single entrance interior storage facility. Access to the self-storage facility will be through a new opening roll-up door on the building east side. Although no changes are proposed for the exterior of the building, all but one of the entrances will be blocked and the glazing will be obscured, creating, in essence, a blank wall throughout the front of the entire building. Only one building sign will be permitted to note the entrance of the self-storage office. Active spaces produce a feeling of safety and invite people to come and experience the businesses that surround them, while blank walls and no eyes on public spaces are not inviting and are usually avoided by the public. Storage facilities, such as the one proposed, create dead activity space. The location of the proposed use will introduce a warehouse component to the area that will likely negatively affect new and existing uses. The lack of activity at the terminus of the Kiln Creek Activity Center may adversely affect the existing adjacent hotels and restaurants, as well as prevent more active uses from moving back into the area. The use of a self-storage facility is better suited in less visible areas throughout the city, similar to the storage facility located adjacent to Kiln Creek near the airport. National trends are seeking to reuse existing shopping centers and the extensive parking lots that surround them for uses that will foster activity and bring the public into the spaces. As pointed out by the Department of Development in their comments, allowing for this particular use will hinder the potential redevelopment of the area. Allowing for the use of the shopping center as a storage facility is contrary to some of the criteria that the zoning ordinance requires for the approval of a conditional use permit, which is pertinent here, including that the specific use will be compatible with and not injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property, nor it will significantly diminish or impair property values within the immediate vicinity. While portions of the shopping center are currently vacant, there is an opportunity for active redevelopment to occur, allowing a self-storage facility to take over the shopping center effectively remove this opportunity. In conclusion, the proposed mini storage warehouse single entrance interior storage facility is not in keeping with the One City, One Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan recommendations for revitalization of community activity centers such as this one. The proposed use will have a negative impact on the surrounding properties such as existing commercial and hotels. From the business plan, it is clear that the applicant is not interested in keeping the remaining retail in the building, but the end goal is to expand the use to the entire building. The proposed use will create a dead zone for the surrounding retailers, especially the adjoining hotels and restaurants. Hence, it is recommended that Planning Commission recommend to City Council denial of conditional use permit CU 2023-0011 for the conversion of the shopping center at 200 Arthur Way into mini storage warehouse, single entrance interior storage. Are there any questions?
So for the amusement permit that you said is still valid, that is no longer being pursued, the use of that permit?
Yeah, didn't we approved that?
Yeah, we approved that.
Yes, you approved that. And I don't know exactly what happened with that, but it looks like didn't go through.
Okay.
To my knowledge, the financing on that deal fell apart, and they're no longer interested in the property. But I'm sure the applicant can speak
Go
to
ahead,
that.
Tim.
So there are still currently a few businesses in that shopping center, correct?
Correct.
And the goal is to not remove them, but like see to their extrication from that?
What the business plan says is that once they leave, those stores will become part of the storage facility.
Okay. Before we go into a lot of discussions on this one, I'd like to, since I really want to get legal's perspective on the conflict of interest, and I do support the possibility of tabling this until then, I would like to have, I want to table our conversation about this until we had an opportunity for the legal side of them to have a conversation, because there is a motion that will be coming back. So, Saul, thank you so very much for your presentation, and we're going to hold on and have this conversation with, at least get an opportunity to hear what legal has, the attorney for the applicant has today.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'm Alan Tanner.
Yes, Alan.
I'm a lawyer. My address is 11835 Fishing Point Drive, Suite 103, here in Newport News. I've been a lawyer here for 47 years. This is a case of first impression as far as my experience in coming before the commission and other entities like this. Just as a background, Mr. Edwards contacted me. He is the applicant, one of the applicants, in July of this year. I have a law firm. My chief legal assistant is Cameron Smith, who is seated here with Mr. Edwards. Cameron is a recent grad of Morehouse University in June of last year. He has been a legal assistant for me for the past 4 years. I couldn't be luckier to have had the association with that young man in these 4 years. In July, Mr. Edwards came to us and said, we'd like you to help us with this issue regarding the use permit that's for the old Farm Fresh building. Happy to do it. Cameron, get with Colin, learn about how this is done, prepare yourself for law school. He's been accepted to, I think, LSU so far. He will be going there. But this is a wonderful opportunity for you to see city government in action and be a relevant to our firm in assisting Mr. Edwards in presenting to you today. He took it on with great energy. In the meantime, we fast forward to September. He was asked by Councilman Cleon Jones to become a CSR. That is a newly created position by council, and I'm going to let him speak to what that is. When he took that job, I'm an attorney. I understand conflicts of interest. Immediately, you and Cleon go to the city and find out how your relationship could affect presentations before Cleon, the city, and currently the Planning Commission. They did that. He will speak to that. And I appreciate your allowing him to do that. And as of, well, he can speak to it better than I can. I don't want to do the timing, but we had done that several months ago, or at least a couple of months ago. Because it's intuitive that that be addressed. And that was the first thing I was going to address, but city attorney, we talked before the meeting, planning made it a concern to theirs. I knew it was a concern because that word has gotten out. That's why I encouraged the meetings that were had. I contacted the city attorney who told me that he was in the process of working on that now, and he had instructed or asked staff to proceed. At least that's what he said. He's retiring, and I was congratulating him on being able to retire. But that process was started. But it was at that time appearances before council and Cleon Jones.
Long.
Councilman Long.
Councilman Long.
Cleon, I apologize. Cleon Long. Thank you. Could appear to be a conflict, okay? And that's what we learned, and I was going to bring that to the attention because Cameron can speak to that. We've just heard that, hey, the city is denying that. We were instructed on Friday in a letter, I think it was received Friday or when did we receive the letter? Thursday. The first page of the letter said it's been approved with conditions. That's the first page of the letter. Well, the celebration started. Calls were made. Then the opinion was read. And the opinion at the very end, and that's our fault for being excited and enthusiastic and the result of a lot of hard work. It was denied at the end. So fast forward today, as we approach this, I was going to explain this very thing that I'm explaining to you, and I'm going to let Cameron do that in a limited way to tell you what his involvement's been. I've explained it to my client. My client was made aware of this in well back September when Cameron accepted the position. We certainly did not want to stigmatize their effort or do anything that would prevent them from proceeding with this application. My client said, we're comfortable with it. He can speak to that. I wanted this young man to have the opportunity to learn something and do something in the best interest of what we perceive is the community. Cameron, if you'll come up, if I could he speak?
Come on, Cameron. State your name and where your residence, Cameron.
Cameron Smith, 843 Meadow Circle, Newport News, Virginia. Like Mr. Tanner said, I started on this process probably July is when Colin came to us. Mr. Tanner approached me shortly after and asked me if I would be willing to take on this process. I said, sure, I would do it. I had been working with Colin since then, and then the city reached out to me about working on a position with City Council, in which at that point it was my obligation to notify any clients that I had direct contact with in our firm of my position, the nature of the work that I'm doing, and the potential conflict of interest. I then went to my immediate supervisor in the city and also explained my potential conflict of interest, what I was doing at the law firm, and I specifically referenced this project. And I was given the go-ahead up until about yesterday. I got a call that it could potentially be an issue, but there was no, according to Lynn, there was no official writing stating that I could not do so. So I had prepared with my client up to that point, essentially coming before you guys today. And so I would ask, at least in the interest of our client at the firm, if this is something that you guys are not comfortable with me presenting, which I will gladly defer to Mr. Tanner, that we give a deferral simply to give my client and Mr. Tanner time to prepare for the presentation.
Mrs. Smith, we have
What specific are the duties that you're working with the city that is up for debate?
To be honest, I can't answer that. I think that's more of a question for the attorney's office. Most things that I help Councilman Long with are clerical things, responding to emails, phone calls, things of that nature. I don't want to speak on behalf of the city to, make judgment on what could be potentially a conflict, but that's essentially what I do for the councilman.
Okay. For my understanding and lack of knowledge, the acronym was used CSR. Did I
Yes.
correct that?
Yes, sir.
What actually is that acronym?
Constituent Service Representative.
And that's to Councilman Long directly? Okay. Any other questions for council? Of the applicant, yes.
Cameron, thank you for coming before us this afternoon. And thank you for the summary provided yesterday during an intro call provided about this project. I think, when I sit up here and we talk about conflicts of interest, we talk about a fiduciary benefit or non-benefit associated with a decision or background information. It's my understanding as your role with Cleon, you're more of like a legislative aid to support him on an hourly basis. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
And in that capacity, it's a part-time capacity?
Yes, sir.
And so is there any, this may be a legal question, not for you, but is there a way of a fiduciary benefit to you gain from today's being approved or not being approved while serving as Cleon's legislative aid? I don't quite see the connection there. I can see your concern, and I think it's appropriate and quite onerous, but I don't really connect the dots.
Well, see,
I'll
what I don't want you to do, Colin, that's one of the reasons that we have an opportunity to hear what legal has to say. So rather than you go back and forth on a legal discussion about what legally can be, let's let our legal side of the house complete their due diligence in what they're doing, and then we'll come back together. My support would be is what you asked for, an opportunity to table it, not necessarily for you to be replaced in your presentation, but get some clarity as to which way we should go with this.
absolutely.
I hate to start the new year in my tenure in a situation like this, but it is what it is.
Yes, sir.
So,
Mr. Chair.
yes, sir.
I'm with Commissioner Bowditch. I don't see really any connection other than he happens to know Councilman Long. Many of us, almost everyone here knows the mayor. That doesn't give us any undue influence over the mayor.
But
So,
that's,
I'm not done. So it sounds like you all reached out how many months ago to have this addressed?
When the very first day that he was brought to me, I reached out.
Can you give me a month?
July.
July?
Yes,
is
that
accurate?
was prior to my signature employment with the city, but that was when the city had, well, Cleon had first approached me about working for him, so I made him aware.
He wasn't an employee of the city at that time, so our office wasn't made aware of any potential conflict
So-
at that time.
I'm just
then-
wondering, when was the
so
city
there-
attorney's
so
office made aware?
I mean, it had to be once every month. I called, I notified my immediate supervisor in the city numerous times on the potential, hey, I'm working on this. It's going before planning, to the point where once I found out the actual date of this hearing, I let her know that the hearing is this date, this time. I just want to make sure everything's good, and I got the go-ahead.
So since September?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. That's a person that's not a part of our office.
Correct.
I will just say, and I realize the chairman I think, made a valid point. I will say also that Flora let me know that Cameron was somehow working on this project. That wasn't as concerning as the presentation. We had no idea until yesterday that he would be presenting to the Planning Commission and then to City Council, at least myself, on this project. And so there's something called the State and Local Government Conflict of Interest Act. It's not intuitive. It's not something that you just say, well, this sounds good, or that doesn't sound good. Doesn't sound good. It's a very specific Conflict of Interest Act that has to do with state and local public officials. And so what we want to do is just research that and provide you all with an opinion. We don't, at this point, we can't say either way.
He is an employee of Tanner Law Group and has been. And if the city, nothing was intended. This was a genuine effort by this young man to learn and advance himself and get him into a position where he can put what he's done when he goes before an admissions crew at a local law school. And he is my employee. When he speaks as to clients, that is clients of the law firm and not him personally. He is paid hourly, just as the city has done. There would be only the benefit that I would receive as an attorney from a fee that I would charge my client. And it's perfectly appropriate for this commission to go through this discussion. I don't want it to stigmatize anything at all for that gentleman right there that's put in the hours, the time, and the money to come before you in what he hopes is a successful effort to show you what he's going to do at that shopping center. You've heard from the city. They have clearly denied it, and they had a chance to present. And if you feel like it's more appropriate, and the city attorney does, that he not be a presenter, that he can sit here with me as my employee and take notes in the background, and I'll do the presentation. But this is a good opportunity for this young man to go before a public forum like this in a genuine capacity. He's not a lawyer. I'm the lawyer. But he sure has been a good assistant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on just a second. Okay, this is the situation that I have before me today. We received the presentation from the city, and we got their opinion, what they're proposing to do or suggest that we do. What we were going to do is have this opportunity for the citizens to hear this. They've heard the presentation. Now, what my suggestion is that because of the three cards that I have before me are directly from the three of you. So rather than, unless I go into the situation of opening up the public hearing and have everybody, then a motion is made, which way we go, or we wait and table it and then come back. But since we have citizens down here, I would prefer them to get the opportunity, because we do have one that's openly against the this project moving forward. So I guess I'm in a little quandary in which way to go. Colin?
I believe that you could open the public hearing if you want to hear from the citizen, and then defer the matter with the public hearing still open, and then pick it back up at another date if you want to hear from this gentleman that has come.
Okay. Thank you, Lynn. So what I would do, unless there's any further questions for Saul, I'll declare the public hearing open, And, excuse me, sir. And I have cards before me. Are you just stretching your legs? I know, that's what I'm saying. So you just, I don't know. I've never saw that Ms. Fox's situation. Anyway, I'm new to the chair. So I have 3 cards that are clearly in favor of the conditional use permit 2023 TAC 001. And of those 3 cards, Mr. Edwards, you're the only one that has not spoken. So would you like to come before to speak? And state your location.
My name's Colin Edwards. I'm the developer on this project. My question, can
Your
I give
address.
my address, 6200 Mountain Brook Lane, Atlanta, Georgia, 30328. Can I give my full presentation, or do you just want to hear from me about actually hearing it today or deferring it?
Mr. Chair.
Give your full presentation, sir.
Okay. Am I locked and loaded on this thing?
Saul can help you.
The mouse isn't plugged in.
The mouse isn't plugged. Do you need it? No?
And then if I want to advance it, so I'll know this.
Yes.
All right, thank y'all for your time. Let me see if- Yep, that's it. Like I said, Colin Edwards from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm the developer. Work on these extra space storage deals. I've been rolling out the concept across Virginia that's called a drive-in, no-sweat storage concept. We'll get into that. Saul kind of went over the area. You know where it is. I do want to point out there is lots of vibrant retail there, but there is another large vacant former Kmart next to the Kroger that fronts Victory Drive. As you can see, our store is at the dead end off of Commonwealth, back by the hotels and the theater there. That Kmart space has been vacant for 5 years. Our space has been vacant for over 7 years. I do want to clear up a miscommunication there. It's in the staff report, but it has never been my intent to kick out the current retailers, forcefully remove them. I've got 2 restaurants, a nail salon, an office tenant, have all made it through COVID. They're on some short-term leases, some reduced rents. They have struggled along with the owner while the anchor has been vacant. But I really think I have a plan that can bring some activity back to the space, back to the area that will keep them in business and keep them vibrant. But part of that is getting the storage in my anchor space to free up some of this parking lot. I would love to create more activity in the parking lot, but if you see on the site plan to the right of my medical out parcel, that's encumbered by other parking easements from the hotels, movie theaters. So any redevelopment in the future, those you'd have to lose hotels, movie theaters, other things to free up the whole parking lot to be unencumbered. But the storage does enable me to bring some charging stations as well as this Main Street urgent care that would bring daytime population and things to the area. The confusion on the staff report is that anytime a tenant goes out, we just lost GNC here at the end of the year, they vacated, and I fully intend on retaining George Fox from DeVaris. He's a best in class in the area that I can see for leasing to backfill these tenants. But if at the end of a dead-end road, if you look at the signage there, is kind of the main drawback on the site. I have no signage, I have no visibility to the main roads, which is crucial to retail. If I can't backfill these spaces, and George has ample time to do that because it's going to take me 2 years to build out and do the out parcel, I need the right to be able to do storage on this building. And according to staff, I would have to come back for a CUP hearing every time a tenant went out, even just to do 1,200 feet or something. So the renderings you'll see, the floor plans you see, are as if the whole building becomes storage, but I'm financially incentivized to keep the retail tenants. They pay better rent. I don't have to build any construction costs to blow out walls or redo the storage. So that is not my intent, and I apologize for that confusion. This is drilling down a little bit on the out parcel. I have a letter of intent from Main Street Urgent Care, a group out of Alabama that's in North Carolina, multiple stores, and rolling out into Virginia. Obviously contingent on the storage, but they don't want to go inline. They have a prototype. There's gas, air, size requirements that they would rather do a build-to-suit there in the parking lot. We also have email feedback back and forth from Tesla that this would be a wonderful spot for the charging stations there off the interstate. That would be a component of the out parcel as well, bringing more tenants and more people there during the daytime as a destination medical use and charging stations there. Breeze through these. This is the current conditions of the center. I'll get into my no sweat drive-in concept and where that loading unloading would go. This rendering is what it would look like if it was all storage. Just to be clear, you would not be looking at roll-up doors. People cannot park their truck in front of the center and load and unload. It would not disturb the current retail tenants because all of the loading unloading would come in the rear of the building. This roll-up door in the rear would be a secured, code-gated access only where if you're in a minivan, U-Haul, whatever, you pull in the building, you're in a conditioned space, which on a day like today is a very attractive, unique feature, or in the summer. And we have rolled this out with great success. It's kind of a Class A, best-in-class twist on self-storage. Most of your clientele are women for whatever reason, but they really like being in that safe, secure indoor space there. It would not be a nuisance, and you're not looking at any other doors there. Just a quick 2 slides here. We did get with the other businesses in the area via the Business Association. The president and vice president have weighed in on our project. After 7 years of vacancy, they're excited to see something. They've blessed our plans, our renderings, and they have looked for enhanced lighting, security. It's kind of trending toward blight behind the center, people dumping mattresses, people from the interstate. The owner has done a fabulous job of running off any vagrants, things like that, but it has been vacant now for 7 years. The owners, Mr. Ash, he's been a good member of the Business Association, has tried over years to get other tenants in there for whatever reasons, much like the entertainment center has fallen apart. But he has had a Class A firm representing him. It hasn't just been him trying to lease it up on the internet or with a sign. Quick history on me. These are a couple projects in Virginia. I'm happy to explain more about my business history, but you'll find we're very good to work with, do what we say. And our niche is kind of taking orphaned or blighted properties and turning them into productive storage facilities. Last but not least, the storage market. There is one conditioned facility in a 2-mile radius, a little over 2 miles away. The other facilities are non-conditioned. As a national trend, as housing has gotten smaller and smaller, you can see the newest subdivision, maybe 100 yards, 200 yards from us, single-car garages for $400,000, new apartments, whether it's young people, old people, all demographics, all incomes. Storage has become more and more of a need and amenity, and there's a lack here. It's kind of a hyper-local demographic. Most of your customers come from a 1-mile, 2-mile radius. To interest of the 6-minute time here, just want to point out today's tax register has the property at $55,000 is what they're contributing to the city's bottom line. When Mr. Ash purchased the property, it was about $111,000, so that's almost half of when he purchased it. If you take my construction cost, keeping the retail value, and the purchase of the land, I'd be at about $11 million. That would jump the tax register about 250%. I'm not saying I would sell the property. We do sell some, keep some, but if an investor were to come in and buy this, say 3 to 5 years at a stabilized value, he would be paying north of, say, $19 million, and that would jump the taxes to $228,000. That does not include any of the medical out parcel or the charging station. That is just icing on the cake, but I was not able to calculate all of that. So with that said, I'm the type guy, I'd love feedback if my tenants go out and there's a need for a community center or something to bring more activity that you have ideas for, or working with staff, I'm all ears for that. But I do want to be clear, I'm not trying to kick anyone out. I'm work with retailers all the time, that's my background. But I think this is a way to take a unproductive property, turn it into a productive property with some real upside for the city in an area that's lacked signage and has really missed a great retail boon over the last COVID, post-COVID era. Hasn't filled up here, didn't hit the Kmart box, did not fill up, and that would be the first domino to fall in my mind before something would come to the Farm Fresh. So with that, I'll happy to answer any questions, but I really do appreciate you hearing me today with all that's going on. I didn't want it only to be negative. Glad you got to hear my side, but I'm happy to come back again by any means, whatever it takes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Any questions from?
Just one. What is the tenant capacity of, like, in estimation for this building, if you were to get it approved?
Like how many units?
How many units?
Oh man, you hit me with a tough one there. So we did the anchor box is 56,000 feet, and I am proposing building a mezzanine level in there, and I think it's like 500 units or actual boxes that would be coming in and out. There would be 2 employees there on a daily basis, so not a huge draw as employment-wise, but there would be people coming in and out on a daily basis.
Any other questions? Yes.
Mr. Edwards, can you give any other examples of a self-storage being a retail hub business?
I think all of the projects that I do, if you go backwards, let's see, hang on. Particularly the one on the top right, I'm building a strip center in the parking lot in Lynchburg, Virginia, that would be similar to this medical out parcel I'm doing here. The top left in Blacksburg, there's an out parcel in front of that would be more on the main road. But as far as storage driving retail, I would be far-fetched to say, oh yeah, it's going to save these tenants. But I think my plan of putting storage to bring the medical out parcel and the charging station is a step in the right direction to get activity back here. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that self-storage is a Farm Fresh or some kind of anchor like that. But it does bring people, lighting, security, and traffic to the area that doesn't have now.
But there's not in a retail setting where a self-storage is that hub for retail development.
No, usually storage would be, honestly, if you look at the aerial, at the end of this trade area where retail has succeeded out on the main road, your storage is more the destination where the hotels are and stuff in the back, just like this property.
Thank you, Ms. Yes, Mr. Brown.
Helen, thank you for coming and presenting today. I have a personal and a professional relationship with George Fox, and he is the absolute best they come. He and I have talked about the center for a series of years before Mr. Tanner and his colleague got involved, or you came to the surface, and have looked and heard of many, many deals that have come and gone with the anchor box. Would it be your intent to continue to engage him, to keep those retail tenants occupied, and if one was to move out, to then move someone in? I know that, like, that restaurant on the corner is quite a staple for the Kiln Creek community.
Absolutely. I'm financially incentivized to keep them paying rent and keep them open. I know they've had a long history of being in business. There's a Chinese restaurant, a Thai restaurant, the nail salon, as opposed to me running them off and them paying half rent or no rent. I'm trying to get them back vibrant and keep them around. And I would retain George for sure. If somebody leaves while I'm under construction, he would be tasked with finding me somebody new in there. This was really just to protect my downside scenario that I wake up in 3 years and everyone's left me and I'm still stuck there with vacant retail space.
Right?
I just got one quick last question. Based on the letter that you sent that you put into public record, Cameron Smith is not an investor in this?
No.
So it would be no other financial benefit?
No, sir.
For him being that, as besides just being representation as part of his consulting group?
Absolutely. He has no financial interest in the project outside of being an employee with the Tanner Law Firm there.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make one other comment. We have 3 other.
Yes, I was trying to get to those two. All right, thank you, Ms. Edwards.
Thank you, guys.
All right. I have a card for opposition, and I also have 3 memos, or 2, actually 3, that I need to.
You don't need to read that was done in the past, but that's not necessary. You just can make it, all the commissioners have seen that. You don't need to read those into the record.
So what we do with that being said, then I don't have to read them. We would I'd ask Mr. Arnold, I do not want to mess your name up, sir, but I definitely can't read it. Mr. Arnold to come. We invite you to come forward, Mr. Arnold.
Appreciate it. I got too early for you before. Congratulations on your election. I'm Dr. Arnold Abrams. I've lived in Kiln Creek for 27 years plus.
Your address before you start, sir. Your address.
So I can give you my address, 911 Lake Forest Drive, Newport News, Virginia, zip code 23602-9413. There's only 2 zones I know in life. One is the zone which is my zip code. The other zone is when I get my flood insurance. Unlike Mr. Gleiser here, I couldn't tell you a C1 from a C2 from a C3. I can only tell you about my neighborhood. When the gentleman before me says, oh, I'll tell you about the Thai restaurant in the end. I will tell you about the GMC at the one end. I'll tell you the Chinese restaurant at the other end. In other words, I can also tell you about Banner Hallmark, which is right there. If anyone wants to talk about traffic, go to 2nd Street. And you tell me there's a lack of traffic. Tell me that there's no signage. You can't find Arthur's Way? You've got to be kidding me. So I'll tell you what you need to do. You come off Victory Boulevard. You make a right-hand turn. You'll see on your right-hand side, Wells Fargo. You go a little bit beyond that, you will then see a turn to go into that street. And there will be a service place there where you get your tires and you get your service. That could be there. In other words, there are stores in the area, there are motels in the area. But I look to my left, and I have to tell you something. It's very difficult for me to be in this room because my friend, Joe Frank, was sworn in here. And he was my friend and a lawyer, and he so loved this city. I want to present to you a quote because I'm old enough to remember it. Some people see the world as it is. I dream of things that never were and ask why not. Joe Frank and the former president of Christopher Newport University had a vision. It's called probably one of the greatest centers and attractions in the city of Newport News. It's called the Ferguson Center. If you want to go through the discussions and the debates, look at the Ferguson Center. And look what it became. We had the internationally acclaimed architect, Ian Pei, do that. I live at that Ferguson Center. I will be there this Friday night. I will be there this Friday night because it's the Virginia Symphony Orchestra, and they play Tchaikovsky's 6th. I look at the territory not as a C1, as a C2. I see it as a tremendous potential. I'm not here to refute the gentleman before me. He sees it as an opportunity to have a storage facility. I don't see it that way. Think of Newport News and think about the acreage and the square footage of that entire area. Don't look at it in terms of just a storage area or the fact that Farm Fresh has been out of business 2017. I know that they had great fried chicken there. I had to move to another place. But the whole thing, seriously, is its potential. You do not have that much in the city of Newport News with that kind of land that you want to just put a storage facility in it. It has the potential for housing. It has the potential for small shops. It has great potential if you see it as such. Because after all, some men see the world as it is. I dream of things that never were. Why not in the city of Newport News? I want you to think of Kiln Creek for a moment. Do you know that Kiln Creek has trees? Do you know that when Mr. Ash developed it, he kept the trees? Do you know the attraction of Kiln Creek? I'm not talking about the value of the house. I'm talking about the walking area. I'm talking about it overall. And on the far end of Kiln Creek, across that street, which is now Victory Boulevard, it used to be Oyster Point, it's now Victory Boulevard, and you go across, you see the shops. Beyond that is what? Another set of homes. That's part of Kiln Creek. So my tell you the question is, why would you take all of that land, the land that you've got to answer to, and put a storage facility? What else could be done there? Maybe it has been done in the past, but with the right leader and the right vision, it has the possibility of being something. Something that you, as part of the Planning Commission, can be proud of. Not just today, but tomorrow, to say, I was a part of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there any questions? I am sorry, for Mr. Arnold.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologize, sir.
That's okay. Any? All right, I'm gonna officially, yes.
You heard Mr. Arnold's comments, and you heard Colin's comments. Should we give Mr. Tanner the time to give his actual presentation?
No, I was. On the table.
May I make a motion?
You can't make a motion from the floor, sir. Not you.
On my card. I'm sorry. Just, I'd like to speak.
Okay, I was gonna close the open, but I'm now gonna leave it open. What I'd like to do is leave it open until we get an opportunity, if there's a motion
Have all
from,
cards been addressed?
yes. What we want to do is not read the individual papers. We only had 4 cards. One was in opposition, and the 3 memos that we received, one was Mr. Arnold. So we have 3 memos, counting this card is in opposition, so there's 3, and we have 3 cards, and 4 in favor, and all of them have spoke to some degree, short of the legal presentation. So what I would like to do now is open the floor to, 1, close the public hearing. No. I will table it. I would like to table it and leave the public hearing open.
Chairperson Taylor, I'd like to make a recommendation that we continue the public hearing until we hear the legal opinion, then continue with the public hearing with the presentation from the legal representation, assuming the legal, it's legally everything is straight.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to let you know that Mr. Tanner advised me that he was planning to withdraw their legal representation, which would withdraw Mr. Cameron's involvement in the case, which would mean that you could decide the case today if you chose to do that.
Well, okay, let me have my say. As chairman, this is what I propose, and we can go one way or the other. Mr. Smith, I would like him to have that opportunity, if it turns out to be legally that he can have that opportunity, because I see and I agree with Mr. Tanner as an opportunity to build on his knowledge base and going forward, and that he can use this as a springboard to go somewhere else with this. So if there's a chance that Mr. Smith can end up giving this presentation, I would like him to have that opportunity. But I'm only one of 7, actually 8 of us, and I would like the board to have the opportunity to decide which way we go, but I would like to leave the public hearing open. There was a motion, resubmitted,
And again, I
identified.
make the motion to continue this portion in the public hearing until we hear the legal opinion.
Because I want,
Continue.
correct, because I want an opportunity to hear the legal opinion and to continue this matter going forward. So there's a motion on the floor to do just that. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any questions, any further conversation on this issue?
So, tell me the motion one more time.
The motion is to leave the public, slow down, Tom. To leave the public hearing open until we get an opportunity to hear back from legal, one way or the other, in regards to Mrs. Smith. At that time, we would go forward with either Mr. Tanner or Mrs. Smith to complete this issue. And since the public hearing would still be open, we will continue to hear whatever case or issues or concerns that may come back from the public at that time. Right. So there's a motion and a second. Any other questions? Please call the roll.
No, I have a comment.
Yes.
I think this is a ridiculous, farcical sense of order that we've had today. This is, why wasn't this addressed before? Why did it even come before us? Like, why are we debating this? This isn't something we should have to determine. The city's attorney or the city attorney's office should have had this clarified for us. This is ridiculous to force a citizen who went through all the steps, not saying whether I agree or disagree with the proposal, but this is ridiculous in my opinion, and I just wanted that stated on the record.
Any other comments?
I would like to say that we are not the attorneys. Let the attorneys do the job of what they're supposed to do. We are not stopping anything. We are just postponing it until we get the legal.
Right. Let's do this.
Is there, can I ask this question? Is there a preference by Mr. Maybe we should ask Mr. Tanner if there's a preference for him to present and to void the card of Mr.
Well, that is what I do not want to do. Okay, I think I've made myself pretty clear on this one. All right, there's a motion there. It's been seconded, not to put you at odds, Mr. Bowditch, or any of my fellow commissioners. But I think we should get an opportunity. Initially, when we first started this, and I sat in the chair, I mentioned that I wanted to get legal's position on where we should go with this. I do not, in my short tenure, want to short-sight Mr. Smith and his opportunity to move forward with this. I don't think, personally, it's going to make a decision one way or the other as it goes as far as the decision made from the board, whether we move this forward to council or not. But it would give him an opportunity to do what we do, and the due diligence from legal is what I'm looking for. So we have so I go back. There's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. And if there's no further questions, I'd like to call
I
a
just
roll.
have one question. Lynn, you said something before we started this that Mr. Tanner's willing to,
Well, he just whispered to me that he would be willing to withdraw their legal representation. Again, we were asked a question, and we're fine to do the legal research on the question either way, because Mr. Smith has had involvement. Our issue, though, was him presenting and advocating in light of the fact that he's also an advocate for, or an assistant, I should say, for Councilman Long. And we wanted to address that legal issue. Whether or not that goes away, it might, if they're going to withdraw their representation and Mr. Smith isn't involved any longer in the case. Because again, our understanding was that he was going to present, and that was our understanding as of yesterday, that he was going to be presenting this case.
And I think it was Mr. Smith's understanding until today. So,
Yeah,
okay, now I understand. Okay, I just wanted to.
so we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. I'd like to call roll, please.
Commissioner Bowditch,
Abstain.
You can't abstain.
Yeah.
Unless you have a conflict of interest, they took that from us.
Yeah.
You cannot.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And they understand. I think a vote for is to defer. Or table, I think the word is to continue.
I would vote for tabling to get good advice from council.
Commissioner Stacho,
For.
Commissioner Grabowski,
Against.
Commissioner Michaud,
For.
Commissioner Diaz,
For.
Commissioner Shook,
For.
Commissioner Williams,
4.
Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Okay, 7-1, 4.
Flora, when do you think, or when do you think we may get a chance to hear this again?
You could continue it to the February 7th hearing.
That's what I would like to do. Thank you all for the.
I want to make it clear.
Mr. Tanner, please come to the mic, and because we like you so much, Mr. Tanner, we're going to give you an opportunity. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I've spoken to my client. My client has agreed that I am withdrawing my representation. We will not make any presentation whatsoever from Tanner Law Group in front of this commission. You're welcome to decide whatever you need to decide about Mr. Smith, but the thing I don't want is to deprive him, my client, of any stigma or anything attaching. We didn't do this. We were well ahead of this issue. The city now has brought this issue up and made it a big deal, and rightly so. You are doing the right thing. But we will not be representing this gentleman and his company going forward at any meeting. So Mr. Smith will not be making any presentations. I think what the city did to pull this at the last minute when they, as you said, Mr. Grabowski, it is really unfair, but I don't want my client prejudiced, and I get to make that decision.
Yes, sir.
I've done it with his approval. We, as a law group, are withdrawing from our representation, and he can hire whoever he wants to hire to assist him in the further public hearing. But I want that on the record.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, but with that being said, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. The next item we have on the agenda is special exceptions. SE Tag 2023, Tag 006. Ooh. And that will be heard presented by Ms. Carolyn. Right. Yeah, what's the name? But didn't think Toby.
All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I promise this will be simple.
Thank you. That's it. Famous last words?
Yes, I promise. So, application SC 2023-0006 is a request to construct a single-family detached dwelling on a non-conforming lot of record with less than 50 feet of frontage. Benedictus Toby is the owner and applicant, and I believe he is here today. Yes, so later if you have questions, he's available. The property is located at the northeast corner of Chestnut Avenue and Hampton Avenue and is currently vacant. Oops. Come back. It is currently surrounded by single-family homes, and the property has been zoned R4 single-family dwelling since the citywide rezoning of 1997. All right, in the wrong direction here. Sorry about that. The applicant proposes to improve the 37.5-foot non-conforming lot by building a two-story single-family home with a detached garage. The property is located within the Neighborhood Conservation Overlay District. The zoning ordinance states that the Board of Zoning Appeals may grant a special exception to improve a non-conforming lot of record having less than 50 feet of frontage with a single-family dwelling, provided that the following conditions are met. The single-family dwelling shall be 2 stories or of similar design to abutting structures. The proposed dwelling in this case is 2 stories with a covered porch, which is also similar to the properties in the surrounding area. The front yard setback of the dwelling shall be the average of setbacks of the existing buildings in the block, but not less than 10 feet. For this structure, the front yard setback is proposed at 14 feet. And the minimum side yard setback shall be 5 feet, and the side yard setbacks, as proposed, meet this requirement. An attached or detached garage shall be provided. In this case, it is a detached garage, and it is facing Hampton Avenue. The proposed dwelling is in harmony with the appearance of surrounding properties and does not create a harmful effect to the neighborhood. The dwelling as proposed is consistent with the architectural style and setbacks of the surrounding structures. The home features horizontal siding, large rectangular windows with faux shutters, and a brick face foundation and steps. And there are several existing driveways on Hampton Avenue, so it is consistent with the character of the neighborhood. As such, the recommendation is approval of application SC 2023-0006 with conditions. The recommended conditions are that elevations and materials be approved by the planning director prior to issuance of a building permit, that the base of the structure shall have a brick facade as well as brick steps, and the sidewalk shall connect the front steps directly to the sidewalk in the city right-of-way. All mechanical equipment shall be located at the rear of the structure, and a property line vacation plat and plans and details for right-of-way permit shall be submitted, and all other standard conditions would apply. With that, are there any questions?
Is there any, thank you very much, Carolyn. Is there any questions? I'm sorry, the commission? I have no cards on the matter before us, so I'm going to open the public hearing and I'm going to close it. So I declare the public hearing open. Having no cards, I'm going to close it. The matter is now before, I did have one question. In one of your aerial photos, it shows the driveway off of Hampton Avenue.
Correct.
There's dual. Is that a shared driveway with their property next to the house, or
No.
is this just being used now?
It's the detached garage is being constructed in the back, and so they will load off of Hampton Avenue because it's a corner lot. So they construct a new
Okay,
curb
to
cut
create a new
there.
driveway and take that tree down?
Yeah.
Beautiful tree. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, the matter is now before the commission.
Okay,
Special session.
yes. Mr. Chair, I move that special exception number SE Tech 2023 Tech 0006 be approved with conditions as recommended by staff.
Second.
Okay, been moved and properly second. Is there any further questions or? Hearing none, I'd like to have roll call.
Commissioner Williams,
4.
Commissioner Bowditch,
4.
Commissioner Stodhill,
4.
Commissioner Grabowski,
4.
Commissioner Michaud,
4.
Commissioner Diaz,
4.
Commissioner Shook,
4.
Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Motion carries 8-0.
This will be heard by zoning appeals on February the 20th. And I think I missed something. All right, next that we have are 2 zoning text amendments, and they're going to be presented by Ms. Flora. And there's one zone text amendment, tag 2023, tag 006, and 007. And hello, Flora.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I am here to present zoning text amendment. The request is to amend Article 2, definitions, Section 45201, to modify the definition of family day home childcare facility and add a Category B to the definition for the care of 5 to 12 children, as well as Article 5, general regulations, Section 522, to add standards to the family day home childcare facility when caring for 5 to 12 children. Currently, the zoning ordinance provides a definition for family day home child care facility when caring for less than 5 children. The proposed amendment would add the definition for a family day home child care facility for 5 to 12 children. The Code of Virginia does not require licensing for family day homes when serving less than 5 children, but offers voluntary licensing if desired. When serving 5 to 12 children, family day home operations require licensing through the Department of Education. The amendment clarifies the city code language and follows that of the state licensing agency. The amendment also provides some general guidelines and standards that follow the same state requirements for the operation of a family day home when caring for 5 to 12 children. These amendments are being recommended to clarify any confusion between the state and the City of Newport News regulations when it comes to these types of facilities. On December 6, 2023, the Regulations Committee reviewed and recommended the approval of the above referenced amendment. Therefore, it is staff's recommendation that Planning Commission recommend to City Council the adoption of zoning text amendment ZT-2023-0006. Are you any, I'm so sorry. Do you have any questions for me? Okay.
Do I have to open the public hearing? No. Please stay.
Okay.
I think, can we vote on these together, or do we have to do them individually?
Do them individually?
I do them individually since they're two separate, I believe they're two separate ordinances.
Well, Aaron, any questions, any comments? Any questions for Flora on this one?
Chairperson Taylor, I make a motion that we accept the zoning text amendment number ZT-2023-0006 as presented by city staff.
It's been moved and properly second. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, please call roll.
Commissioner Dias?
4.
Commissioner Shook?
4.
Commissioner Williams?
4.
Commissioner Bowditch?
4.
Commissioner Stachel?
4.
Commissioner Grabowski?
4.
Commissioner Michaud?
4.
Commissioner Taylor?
4.
Motion carries 8-0.
This will be also heard by City Council on February 13th, 2024. The next item that we have is zoning text amendment 2023, tag 0007. I get it. And this also be heard by Ms. Flora.
Good
Presented by Ms.
afternoon
Flora.
again. So this request is to amend Article 4, Summary of Uses by District, Section 45-402, B as in boy, residential, to add family day home child care facility Category B and permit the use within residential districts with the approval of a conditional use permit. Currently, as stated previously, the zoning ordinance allows for family day home child care facilities for the care of less than 5 children by right in all zoning districts. This amendment would also allow for the care of less than 5 children to be allowed within the O1 office and C3 regional business districts, since single-family uses are allowed in those districts as well, or residential uses, I should say, not single-family. Residential uses are allowed in those 2 districts. In addition, the amendment will add a Category B to the Summary of Uses matrix that allows for the care of 5 to 12 children in a family day home, with the approval of a conditional use permit in all residential districts, as well as the O1 office and C3 regional business district. The conditional use permit process provides an opportunity for the applicant to understand the state licensing and local requirements when operating a family home child care facility in your home when caring for 5 to 12 children. The process also allows for the consideration of the introduction of additional traffic, people, noise into the neighborhood, and can minimize other negative impacts that could be associated with the use by neighbors. On December 6th, the Regulations Committee reviewed and recommended the approval of the above referenced amendment, and therefore it is staff's recommendation that City Planning Commission recommend to City Council the adoption of zoning text ordinance amendment ZT 2023-0004. 7. Do you have any questions for me?
Zoning text amendment 2023
0007.
No 4.
A quick question. So
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is still, this is still day day
It's a
home
family-
child care
Yes.
in a residence.
Correct.
So
in a home.
even though it can be in the O1 or the C3, it's still going to have to be in a residence that's
Residence.
within those.
In those
Correct.
zoning areas.
Within those districts. Correct. Yes, sir?
I just have a general question. There is no regulation for if someone wants to start a daycare like this, that they have to let the neighbors know or anything like that?
For under 5 children, no.
No. When it morphs into more, they might want to let the neighbors know.
So if it's under 5, it's allowed by right, and they don't necessarily have to tell their neighbors. It would, I mean, it'd be nice, but they don't have to. The conditional use permit process for 5 to 12, which also requires the state licensing, they would notify the neighbors because we would notify the neighbors as part of that process.
Okay. Just a clarification.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, I open the floor.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that the Planning Commission recommends to City Council the adoption of zoning ordinance text amendment ZT-2023-0007.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Any other additional questions, comments? Please call roll.
Commissioner Shook,
4.
Commissioner Williams,
4.
Commissioner Bowditch,
4.
Commissioner Stodchill,
4.
Commissioner Grabowski,
4.
Commissioner Michaud,
4.
Commissioner Diaz,
4.
Commissioner Taylor.
4.
Motion carries 8-0.
Before we go into the next we have, thank you so very much, Flora. But before we go into the Executive Secretary report, I'd like to welcome aboard Commissioner Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Welcome. Next, we have the Executive Secretary report.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Since this is our first meeting in the new year, I'd like to wish you all Happy New Year.
Oh, dare you say? How dare you say that?
Also, we have not met since November of 2023, so we did have a few cases to go to council since then. On November the 28th, council did approve the rezoning for the from C1 retail commercial to a R4 single family for a property at 2505 Roanoke Avenue, and a conditional use permit for a child care center. This was First Baptist Church Morrison. That was also approved by City Council. And on February the 7th, 2024, the Planning Commission will hear a conditional use permit for a child care center at 472 Harpersville Road. And the Newport News bicycle and pedestrian plan will be presented to the commission.
What date was that again?
February 7th?
7th.
Yes.
And that the bicycle pedestrian plan is not in a work session. It's in the actual.
Yes, that's coming before you all. It's not a work session. On January 22nd, 2024, I thought it was 25th. On January the 25th, 2024, there's going to be a community meeting at 1711 Madison Avenue from 6 to 7. The meeting is being held to solicit comments and feedback from citizens regarding a rezoning that will be that we're looking to sponsor, that the Planning Commission will be sponsoring for properties located at 16th and 18th Streets along Ivy and Madison Avenue. Basically what it is the property was kind of captured with the Ridley project, the zone R8, and we're looking at changing the zoning to something that conforms with the comprehensive plan.
You said 1711
We don't know
Madison
yet,
Avenue?
but we're having a community meeting to discuss that.
That's 1711 Madison
Madison.
Avenue. What's the date? January 25th?
It's January the 25th,
And that's going to be
At what
where?
time?
6 to 7 p.m.
That's not the school, is it?
No, this is, well, the location is a church.
The church is where the meeting is going to be?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That makes more
I was
sense.
curious.
Okay, I was trying to figure out what was there.
A church.
The church.
You said that's 125.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Is that open? Is that open to the public, or is
Yes,
that just
it's a
us?
community meeting. Before we move forward with the rezoning, because it impacts a whole block and properties in another block, we need to hear from the community first.
What day is that on? I'm sorry.
Why
It's a
didn't we bring-
Thursday.
Why didn't we bring that up yesterday? I'm. That's your side.
Could you clarify, the conversation is, the intent is to move from what zoning to what zoning? Sorry.
We have not
no.
determined that
I'm
yet.
sorry.
This is a community meeting to get feedback.
Thank you.
And what time was that again?
6 to 7 p.m.
Okay, for the point of clarification, could you just go through it one more time? Where it's going to
Okay.
be, when, and what time?
Okay, it's going to be on January the 25th,
Yes, ma'am.
2024. It will be held at 1711 Madison Avenue, which is the location of a church.
Mm-hmm.
That church is within the block that we're looking at rezoning. The time is from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Okay, the block that we're looking at is located between 16th and 18th Streets along Ivy Avenue and Madison Avenue.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Anything else, ma'am?
Yes, I'd just like to welcome our new planning commissioner,
Yeah.
Thank you.
and I'd also like to welcome our new recording secretary for the planning commission, Keisha Brown. If you all have not met her, I'm pretty sure,
Your mail will stop
you know,
popping, Joe.
stop in and say hello to her in our office. And you can yell down the hall and say hello to me as well, and Flora.
Like I do.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Any committee reports? I'd like to say from the Regulation Committee, you've just voted on the two things that we've been dealing with for the last couple of months, the two zoning text amendments. So with that being said, any unfinished business?
Are you gonna?
That was going to be one of my points at new business. I think he's going to ask me about the committees.
Committees. Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry. Any unfinished business? Because this is new business on my calendar. I was going to bring up something. Any unfinished business from?
No, I don't have any unfinished business, but you don't necessarily have to do that in a public forum.
I understand that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I was going to just, for the sake of the questioning, I'll be talking to you guys later. With that being said, any other new business? I want to thank you all for voting me in as chair, and I hope that came with patience. Allow me to get it right and work to get it right. And I look forward to your input as we move forward. So, anything else? Any other comments? I declare the meeting adjourned. Wow.